Now we're in the 11th chapter, Huayna Capac, the 11th Inca, and I call this chapter the end of an all-powerful emperor. The end of an all-powerful emperor. In other words, things are more or less coming to an end, but we should say probably beginning to the end. So, Huayna Capac is the 11th Inca, and he's the son of Tupac Inca Yupanqui, and he is born actually in Quito. And actually he, let's say, according to Miguel Cabello de Balboa, a well-known chronicler, Tupac Yupanqui died in 1493. In 1493, that's 1 year after Christopher Columbus arrived in the Americas in 1492. In other words, this is basically the beginning of the end of the Americas, more or less, we could say. And especially with the Inca Empire, I mean, what are the heights of the Inca Empire in a great empire, a powerful empire, and they already have conquered the north, except for some few battles that he's going to fight. But over here, I start to more or less sort of mix, instead of separate chapters, you know, the conquerors or the Spaniards coming in, and I start to sort of mix in between. Okay, 1493, Tupac Inca Yupanqui dies, so now we know that 1519, the Spaniards conquered the Aztecs, and they're going to be coming and so on. But we are actually, even probably their most powerful weapon, the disease or the viruela, was probably already on its way down to the Inca Empire or down to the whole Americas. So we start to take a different perspective, and I hope we don't get confused, because I intermingle, start to kind of mention the Spaniards, so to give an idea of what's happening at the same time. So the idea of remember very well is that year of 1493, in which the Alexander of the Andes sort of starts to end with the empire.
Estamos a 23 de abril del año 2018. Estamos conociendo cada vez más el alma, la personalidad, ¿no? El rasgo que define a los incas, a cada uno de los 13 incas que han sido emperadores del imperio incaico, ¿no? Estamos con Huayna Capac, ¿no? Huayna Capac tiene, de los tantos hijos que tiene 2 hijos, ¿no? Que tienen poder, digamos, ¿no? De legitimidad, tanto uno en el Cusco, el otro en la parte norte del Perú, ¿no? La pregunta sería, ¿no? Ya desde el punto de vista periodístico, a opinión de Kuntursoul, ¿no? Si hubiese definido bien, digamos, el linaje Huayna Capac, ¿no? su primogénito, ¿no? Quizás la realidad hubiese sido otra, ¿no? Porque hubiese habido un emperador legítimo y no tener que estar discutiendo entre ambos hermanos para poder enfrentar, en este caso, como unidad al enemigo que venía de afuera.
Entonces, tu pregunta es...
La pregunta está relacionada a eso, ¿no? Desde el punto de vista de Kuntursoul, ¿no? ¿Cuál cree que el Huayna Capac como gobernante, crees que se equivocó al otorgar poder tanto en el Cusco como en el norte del Perú?
Ya. Okay, Professor Cifuentes is asking a question that is actually very important. Did Huayna Capac make a mistake of going north and leaving one Inca, which in this case was Huáscar in the south, and then he went with two sons, Atahualpa and Inacuyochi and others, to the north to Quito, so way that far, with the idea that he knew that he could die, and also Inacuyochi and who was this, and Atahualpa, his illegitimate son, would sort of eventually govern, or better yet, for Atahualpa to be a warrior and protect both of his sons, Inacuyochi and Huáscar. And he sort of figured, if anything happens to us while Huáscar is in Cusco, he knows the novels, he knows the panacas, he knows the politics of the Cusqueños, so we will be okay. And meanwhile, we're basically warriors. And I'm taking Inacuyochi, which is my legitimate son, but I want him to be a warrior, and I want him to learn wars. And Atahualpa, he never thought that he would become an emperor, and he just took him as a captain, more or less, to learn the ways of war so that he could protect the empire, either if Inacuyochi or Huáscar survived to be the emperors. So that's your question. Huayna Capac, the 11th Inca, the end of an all-powerful emperor. With the 11th emperor, the empire began in its rapid descent, which the Incas must have felt as dim reports ominous foreign forces were coming their way. With their presence in the American continent, we can approximate our historic events with more specific dates. If we take our bearings from the chronicler Miguel Cabello Balboa, Tupac Yupanqui died in 1493, 1 year after Christopher Columbus arrived to the New World. Why is everybody leaving the deathbed of the Inca? No one should mention of his demise until we have duly crowned Tito Cusi Yupanqui. Huamana Chachi, great general of the North. Tupac Yupanqui is dead. Some nobles of Cusco have sided with the Huaris, and they want to crown the son of Chuquiauhtlio. Nobles, it is clear that my brother has been poisoned. Huamana Chachi went to Cusco to protect his 5-year-old nephew. The prince came out of seclusion from the temple, dressed in splendid regalia. Seeing that he was a child, the people began chanting, Huayna Capac, Huayna Capac, young and powerful, young and powerful. Therefore, Huayna Capac would be his surname. Apo Walpaya, our trusted cousin, you will remain as his custodian until he reaches manhood. The child prince was again raised, secluded in the temple due to the winds of treachery among the nobility. Nobles, I have a secret I am only confiding in a few of you. We can change our future and that of the empire by choosing my son as the next Sapa Inca, knowledgeable of the hierarchy of the Incas, and to receive grace from Huamana Chachi. Some nobles were aware of Apo Walpaya's schemes and went to the north to tell him of the intrigues in the imperial city. Nobles, are you sure what you are telling me is true? Yes, great Achachi. The young prince has been taken to Quispicanchi to celebrate his birthday. Oh, they will kill him so as not to cause any commotion in Cusco. I will go there with my troops. In the violent struggle, Huamana Chachi killed Apo Walpaya and his son. the prince was entrusted to the care of Aukitopa, his older brother. Kusi remained happy speaker. The great Tupac Yupanqui chose you to be the wife of your brother. I know that both of you will give tranquility to this beloved city. In Grand Regalia, the siblings to be consorts came out separately from the palaces of their forefathers. The two adolescents looked at each other, shyly smiling. In the innocence of their youth, they knew that this was not a union of the sexes, but of their blood to keep their dynasty intact. The couple continued on the narrow streets of Cusco until they arrived at the great temple of Coricancha, where in its forbidden chambers, by the lacing of their golden sandals, they were bound in marriage. After some years, the newly anointed Inca began his reign in a city that was smoldering from the recent intrigues. He started to make changes in the temple that sheltered him for most of his childhood. Aukitopa, my advisor, there are many matters of state that have not been carried out according to the mandates of the great Pachacutec. The priests have too much power. Huayna Capac, the priests as the keepers of the temple have always devised ways of getting into the wheels of government. The sooner you instill your authority, the easier it will be for you to govern. The Inca elevated himself to the highest divine authority and began to make plans for the funeral of his father that had not taken place due to the tumultuous events. The ceremonies over, the Inca began preparing an expedition to go north on extended trips of reconnaissance. Meanwhile, Kusurimai gave birth to a male child. Sister and wife, before I leave, I should not rely on this one son alone. Anything can happen to him, and I don't know if you will bear any more male children. Brother and husband, my duty is done. The rest is up to the will of Inti. Inca Sánchez say that Kusurimai didn't have any children, and your firstborn was with another sister to whom you married to legitimize her son. Kuntursoul, why are you so insistent in the accuracy of this most private matter? Because the question of legitimacy led to the disintegration of the empire. In effect, Huayna Capac procreated what in our history will be known as the last Inca. Kuntursoul, in a way, I have two legitimate sons. Ninan Kuyochi, with my wife Kusurimai, and Topa Kusi Walpa, Huáscar, with my other sister Rawa Opio. Of the multiple illegitimate sons that I have, Atahualpa is my preferred one. Huáscar will stay in Cusco to learn the ways of the nobility. Ninan Kuyochi and Atahualpa will come with me to the north. With them, I will have sons capable of taking over war duties and government matters in case I die. Great Huayna Capac, you have just sealed the face of the Incas, which will reverberate for thousands of years in the universe. In the universe, are you confabulating? I say in the universe, because our planet will eventually extinguish itself. When that time comes, some members of the human species will travel to the end of the galaxies to continue with the survival of humankind. However, if that happens, we will be discarded as a race, just as the Indians are being marginalized in the world. I don't understand. Explain yourself. Probably that's how we human beings came to Earth. It is possible that the ruins of Sacsayhuaman are not the works of our recent past, but of other times, like Tiahuanaco, that you also found to be very ancient. Enough of theories. It is time for us to continue with our destiny, and you to cross over the turbulent waves of your present. Thus, and in the midst of this encounter, I find myself voyaging to the old world to understand who our conquerors were by knowing who their present descendants are. In Spain, I went to the birthplace of the famous and infamous conquistador Francisco Pizarro, the man for whom I felt certain antipathy due to his brutal legacy. However, sometimes in order to heal the wounds of the past, one must get in touch with those who mar our legacy. I fear a feat accomplished not only by fingering the decaying books of history, but also by gently tiptoeing on the bygone footprints of those who mourn our ancestors. And we who suffer its consequences must understand why. It would be easy to spill my ire on this man, which is not my intent, but to confront his ill-fated legacy, notwithstanding that our sorrowful past must not be forgotten in order to write our present. Kuntursoul, why are you so pensive? Oh, Inca, I just came back from a faraway backlands where I made friendship with the descendants of the conquistadors and whose ancestors were already in the New World to conquer your empire. To conquer us? You are talking like a sorcerer. Inca, it saddens me to tell you, the empire that your forefathers built will not be inherited by your descendants. Man of the future, who else but them? Unfortunately, that is not what's going to happen. Why not? We have the power to continue on the path of greatness begun under Manco Capac. Yes, Inca. However, the soul of the empire was built with mud and not with the boulders of your fortress. If you had forged the endurance of the stones in the makeup of your people, today we would carry our legacy as Incas and us as Indians. That sounds ominous and contradictory. We have no more lands to unify, but rebellions to quell. Man of the future, tell me of those people from that faraway world, if they are going to come. Inca, they were already in the New World in the last year of your father's reign, 1448 to 1493, and they will not be coming to safeguard your lineage, let alone preserve your empire. If they were here, they should have helped us to advance along with them. Inca, the world follows one pattern, the rise and fall of civilizations. Ours perhaps began during the last crusade in 1250, and ended when Spain was liberated from the Moors in 1492. In the long process of freeing themselves from their occupiers, Spain forged men of fighting will and adventurous spirit. With their arrival to the New World, we became the new infidels. How did that happen? How did that happen? And to come to our continent. It all began in 1486, when Christopher Columbus exposed his thesis of navigating west to go to the Indies. 16 years later, the Kingdom of Spain decided to help Columbus with money that they themselves did not have. They had to borrow from the elites that controlled the world, the Catholic Church and the Knight Templars. In August 1492, from the misty port of Palos, intrepid mariners unfurled their sails to let the wind take them where nobody else dared to venture. After less than 2 months of uncertainty, when they thought all else was lost and close to mutiny, a man shouted, "Tierra, tierra!" On the 12th of October 1492, a new chapter in the history of our round planet was unfolding, a day of infamy that should be forever forgotten. But we, descendants of the very people who were almost annihilated by the newcomers, celebrate that occasion instead of mourning their unwelcome discovery. After such a fateful sight, they disembarked in an island, not knowing that they were putting foot in a new world. With that unwanted event, our fate was sealed forever as Indians. Why do you speak of them in an apocalyptic manner? Couldn't they have been the emissaries of Viracocha? They might have been all you can imagine, but they were not demigods. Why is it that everything that's unknown to us must be the works of God? Because the gods created God, good and evil, and they can be cruel if their tempers are fired up, or benevolent if we do sacrifices to appease their ire. Inca, we all have the ability to do good and evil in order to take our bearings in this unknown state that we call life. It is the balance of these two forces that give us our humaneness. Do I have to fear the awful events that you are prognosticating? No, Inca. I am trying to make some sense of what happened to us and see what to do with the rest of our humanity that we lost after the conquistadors came to our lands. Man of the future, why must you be so intent in exposing the reason for our decline? Because knowing why our end came to pass will bring us into closer to recover what we lost. Maybe no one is responsible for our downfall. We did it ourselves for not being united, and we are still disunited for accepting what they did to us. How can we be responsible for our own demise when it's obvious that the old world people were the ones who caused our end? The purpose of your trip should be to make them accountable. Otherwise, how are we going to regain our dignity? You are ambivalent about your enemies. Inca, my purpose is to let the descendants of the invaders know our plight, and that someday they must make reparations to the Indians. You are taking a difficult road to get to the end, knowing well that we should recover what was taken from us by force when they conquer us. Perhaps we should, but it will lead us nowhere. Let us go back in time to the progenitor of disgrace. There, in the beautiful town of Trujillo, a love affair took place between a gentleman warrior and his domestic girl. Out of that union, Francisco Pizarro was born in the year 1477, a man for whom, after my recent trip to Spain, I began to feel differently, because nothing can be accomplished by harboring ill feelings towards historical figures. They are descendants of the Spanish people of today. You are preaching to yourself. Why not admit that what they did to us was barbaric, and don't try to mend their inequities or so passively. We're humans and we should take revenge. Otherwise, we will always be the same Indians that they think we are. Keep on telling me about this man of the old world, who perhaps is coming to follow the prophecies of the great Viracocha. No, they came and forced on us the teachings of another God from the old world. Let us continue with Francisco Pizarro, who as a child was reared like the Inca lord treated their illegitimate children. How else can one treat a bastard? No different than the legitimate ones, for children are not responsible for the deeds of their procreators. Man of the future, throughout the ages, races, and religions, illegitimacy has never been approved. I don't see how can you defend it. Do not misunderstand me. I'm not supporting the idea that one can have children at random. Commitment must be there for the welfare of a child. Nevertheless, the notion of legitimacy is what ended with the empire. How could that have affected our history? Because the lawful son of the Inca had more rights than his half-brother. For the same reason, Francisco was raised as a herder of pigs, not a humiliating trait as a history makes us believe, since these animals were the wealth of his land. Like we, that the more llamas we have, the richer we are. Exactly. However, some people pride themselves in avoiding the so-called lower types of jobs and live off the labor of others, a legacy left to us by the Spaniards, many of whom are too proud to do the jobs that they consider below their dignity, and the hard work is left for the Indians to do. But Francisco was a working man, or better yet, a ferocious mercenary. That he was illiterate, so was the rest of the world in those days. Not knowing how to write or read doesn't diminish one's innate intelligence. Writing is just a tool to express what one feels, and reading is a way to perceive what others think. If a person doesn't have a chance to obtain an education, that should not be taken as a stigma of ignorance, as it is insinuated with this man of Trujillo. Kuntursoul, tell me about this man's soul. Inca, I just did. His upbringing is what formed his soul. Thus, in that faraway hamlet of Trujillo, I must have stepped over the same cobblestone that he walked on, imploring the same church where he prayed, and saw the same ancient buildings that he had seen. Then and there, I realized that he had accomplished what no other better man of his time could have achieved in spite of his infamous childhood. What do you have to say about his legacy of destruction? That is another matter. As long as we make others culpable for our misfortunes, we will never root out ourselves from the dungeons of our own doings. Then, how are my descendants going to face their future? We will only change through evolution, and that will take a long time. Sapa Inca, we're coming from the north. We bring you bad news. The Chachapoyas have killed the representatives that your father left. Man in the future, it looks like all I will be doing in my reign is quelling uprisings instead of unifying them. Have you tried to find out why and prevent this from happening without humiliating your people? I give them everything they need, and they still rebel. I don't understand why. Perhaps there is no way to appease the pride of the vanquished. One either entices the will to fight or defeats their will to persevere, which is what is happening to your descendants who have lost the desire to rid themselves of their psychological chains, for there is no greater evil than the demons within ourselves. Sapa Inca, you must go and put an end to the rebellion. Runners, do not worry. The Chachapoyas are not as hardy as we are. I will bring them to our way of life by taking thousands of people to the lands as meeting eyes. On the stone-paved road to the north, Huayna Capac's troops made their way to the warm lands of the north, where the rebellious Chachapoyas were waiting with an army not as numerous or well-disciplined. The Incas committed atrocities against them. In time, this attitude led to more uprisings among other nations of the north, and the beginnings of future conflicts. The young Inca, who was new in the art of war, was learning the ways of cruelty. Sapa Inca, the Chachapoyas have no wealth other than their women. We must take them to Cusco. Generals, they will be the finest booty and the only way to emasculate their warriors. The Inca returned to Cusco, but in those days it took them months, if not years. His first expedition of pacification had ended, and he was on the road to greatness. But in our historical consciousness, we were in the path to our own destruction. Sapa Inca, we are receiving disturbing news. The Chachapoyas are preparing for another revolt. Wamana Chachi, my great uncle, go north and see what those people want from us, short of the total destruction. I will go to the south. We must make sure that the Koya people are our allies if we are to venture farther north. The Inca left to the legendary city of Tiwanaku. Kuntursoul, I am sure that the Wiracochas built these megalithic structures. Can you imagine what great metropolis this place must have been? There must be more to our universe, and to think they will all end, but when? Huayna Capa, you are drifting into the nothingness of our times. The quest of mankind is to go as far as where the universe is expanding. Although man as a species has already been to the moon, we still don't know who we are, or maybe we are not. The Incas heard more news of the north. Sapa Inca, the Quitos, Pastos, Caranquis, and Cayambis are also revolting. You should return to Cusco and prepare an expedition to go again to the north. Kuntursoul, I must get back to the reality of our earthly world, which is to conquer and to subjugate. Inca were created to kill or to be killed. It is survival of the fittest, a concept so undisputable and yet so insidiously repressed by those who are the fittest. If that is the law of humanity, we should also continue with the same adage. Before I return to Cusco, I will visit the sanctuary of the sun situated in the middle of the Titicaca Lake. Novels. Who are these people who live on these man-made islands of Totora weeds? Sapa Inca, they are the Uros. No one can change their way of life. They should at least comply with our laws. Inca, that is why they live so isolated. Manco Capac probably came out from the midst of this lake and he began the empire that you are now leading. Perhaps he did. These deadly quietness of this place make it an ideal abode for the gods. Warriors, let the Urcos remain as they are to remind us of our primordial beginnings. The Inca made sacrifices in the island of the sun. Then he went to the Lupacas, Pacasas, and Chuquitos to explain them of his future plans. Call your novels. I need all your men that you can contribute so I can pacify the north for a greater empire. Great Lord of Cusco, the Incas have taken our sons in the flower of their youth. We only have widows and the elderly left. Do not take the few who have grown to your embattled battles. The Inca may have deprived nations of their young, but the old world people perpetrate the greatest genocides ever in the history of mankind. The natives are still suffering injustice committed by no other than their own people, who along with powerful nations prey on them with self-serving ideologies and avarice. Nevertheless, the Indians have managed to survive, unfortunately, as the most humiliated of all races. How resilient can they be and patiently await for better times to come? That will only happen when the granite boulders of their ruins are polished to pebbles by the winds of world indifference. Huayna Capac left the southern region for the last time. He arrived at Cusco. He was received as he had come from a victorious war, when in fact he had desecrated the soul of these people. For there are no more wretched acts than that of taking the young to serve in the killing fields for someone else's greed or greed. Just who gives this power to some people, nations or races, to coerce others to go to wars and cause destruction? Where does this concept come from? Charles Darwin is correct with his theory of the survival of the fittest, which is the karma of our humanity. Can we reverse this universal mandate? Man of the future, we cannot revert the laws of God, which in itself are ours. We all must fight for our own self-preservation. In a way, you are also battling for your own survival, disguised by this encounter. But you want to foster the survival of the weak, and why you are a healer and not a warrior. Let us stop this discussion, which is not a product of your own thoughts, but that of the man of the old world who put this well-known fact into theory. Huayna Capac rested in the Yucay Valley before going to do what the Incas did best, fight. Kuntursoul, from now on my policy of government will be to integrate and maintain what we have unified. Inca, to accomplish that you are taking the tools of devastation and not the instruments of peace. Man of the future, I will do as it has always been done. First we fight, then rebuild our own destruction. Warriors, the time has come to go north. We will take a great army that includes the people from the south who are unwilling to fight for our own cause that is also theirs. Sapa Inca, why are you forcing the colliers to come? There are so many Inca warriors who are eager to go on this expedition. Because by fighting together we will be a unified empire. Ancolapo Larquita, Huáscar will remain in Cusco under your guardianship to learn the ways of the nobility. I will take to the north Ninancuyochi to get acquainted with the extent of the empire, and Atahualpa to become a great warrior. Inca with 3 sons, all capable of becoming the next Inca lord, you may be creating problems in the succession. Remember that children grow up to be adults with different ideas than that of their parents. Huayna Capac, who was in his early 30s and no longer a young man for his times, was ready to follow his destiny as a unifier. The military exodus included women and children who would replace entire communities in the north. Historically, we're witnessing the last crossing of the Incas over the Apurimac River. Huayna Capac proceeded to see his uncle, who was waiting for him with more warriors. Sapa Inca, my nephew, you are now a powerful warrior. I hope any insurrections that endangers the empire is eradicated, so that no one ever harbors any thoughts of revolt. Ancola Chachi, fear not of my commitment for the good of the empire. Wamana Chachi, you should know that most revolts take place to right injustice, and some nations have become great societies on that account. Kuntursoul, to avoid subversions from cabinet, the masses must be provided with food to fill their stomach. work to keep them busy, and religion to warp their minds. That is how civilizations become great. Huayna Chachi, deep in your soul, there must be a novel aspirations acquired with the wisdom of the years. Man of the future, there will always be people like you who with their unattainable ideals, putrefy the well-being of a nation. General Achachi, that is why it's important to educate every citizen so that they don't fall prey to the whims of malevolent leaders. Then why there is so much chaos in your times? In your days they commit atrocities in the name of superior race and not of a better individual. Huayna Chachi, those are the consequences of worshiping masses and not free-willing individuals, which can only be attained with liberty and democracy. Kuntursoul, those are empty words, since in the name of democracy and freedom, our descendants are not in any better situation than they were with us. Let us stop this discussion that tomorrow I'm going to Capac to hear the priest who never fail in their predictions. Huayna Capac made a detour to the coast. Once of the century, the Inca entered the dark chambers where a shaman behind a wooden idol talked to him in disguised voice. The priest, aware of the recent events that were taking place on the northern coast, and their augurs were not good. Worried and concerned, Huayna Capac came out of the shrine. In the serenity of the oceans, the Inca contemplated his future in a pleading voice that was drowned with the sounds of the murmuring waves. After marching over bone-dry deserts, they climbed the high Andes, arriving in Tumibamba, where Huayna Capac made his center of command to administer the Tahuantinsuyo. Perhaps, and in retrospect, the centralism in Cusco would have been better way to govern the empire. Sapa Inca, we hear that the pastors in the extreme north are the most rebellious of the region. Aukitopa, we should first go to the Cayambis and Caranquis, who are also revolting, and they are closer to us. Great Huayna Capac, we must first subdue the pastors to prevent the Caranquis and Cayambis from joining them, and have to fight 3 enemies far away from Tumibamba. My generals, that will take us to the confines of Colombia, the land of the dreadful Caribes, whom I'm not contemplating on unifying. Let us hear what the Collas have to say. Sapa Inca, we agree with your brother's plan. We want to be the first warriors to win this battle. You can send your 2 sons with us and let them get used to the victories accomplished by their subjects. Koya Topa, why are you so confident of winning? You don't even know how these people fight, and you have no idea what type of territory they have. Nevertheless, go and be the first to confront the pastors. Aukitopa will follow you closely with my 2 sons. If the city is taken, I will enter to claim victory. Sapa Inca, do not doubt our intentions. You can take our lives if we are unsuccessful. Enough of words that you will disappoint me if it happens otherwise. The pastors are aware that they would have to confront a great enemy, simulated defeat by leaving their fortress. Aukitopa, we have won as we have promised. We Koya Topa, perhaps the pastors are using their escape as a ploy and then return. You Incas are always suspicious and never trust anyone. My Colla troops deserve a great Taki fiesta. Go ahead with your celebrations. We will stand vigil. Huayna Cap is coming, and I want this citadel to be in order for his triumphal entrance. The Pastos in the midst of darkness came to reclaim their fortress that was guarded by a few sober Incas, and they slaughtered most of the inebriated Collas. The Inca warriors escaped to Tumibamba. Unintentionally, Ninancuyochi and Atahualpa had witnessed their first defeat. Huayna Cap insulted Atahualpa for not standing up for his young brother to defend his honor. The Inca redirected his fugitive troops to the fortress of the Pastos, who were also celebrating their victory when they were slaughtered. Huayna Cap returned to Tumibamba with his humiliated sons and an intact Inca army. The first phase of the northern campaign had ended, but it would be the beginning of more brutal wars to come. The Caranquis and Cayambis, more resourceful than the Pastos, were getting ready to fight the Incas. These campaigns did not take place in rapid succession. It took them months, if not years, to prepare for their next encounter. Meanwhile, all warring factions tended to their fields on a store for hard times. While all this was happening in the Tahuantinsuyo, the Spanish adventurers were making their way to the empire. Man of the future. We only knew through our childhood, adulthood, and old age how far we were from our birth and how close to our death. Since we are fast approaching our final days, as should have been prognosticated, I want to have some idea in your dates how close the empire was to its end and what was happening in the old world. Inca many events were taking place in the old continent, and too numerous to mention. However, printing had to be the greatest advance of the past millennium, 1398 to 1468. Why? Because it helped to record mankind's history to be remembered by all. Does that make any difference in our lives? Yes, because only those who register their past will know what is in store in their future. Then tell me more about that man who is coming to end our way of life. Was he younger or older than me? If you were born in 1488, Francisco Pizarro in 1477, you would have been 11 years older than you. He would have been 11 years older than you. While you were going to north to unite your people, he was coming south to conquer the Tahuantinsuyo. I pray to Inti that they are the true Huiracochas and not the strangers who are coming to serve the empire. They were not what you are thinking, but they did what you are saying. Kuntursoul, we had no other recourse but to continue on the path of our own destruction. Inca, we are human beings with no other power than what is predestined, perhaps following the design of greater power. However, we have the past as a standard bearer of our misdeeds to change what is to come. Sapa Inca were ready for the next phase of pacification. Generals, with the arrival of the Antis, commanded by young nobles of Cusco, we will go to fight the Cayambis. The Cayambis went to the great fortress of the Caranquis, where Pinto, their leader, spoke. Warriors were surrendering this citadel. We have to fight to our death. The Incas do not tolerate those who contend them. Sapa Inca, this encounter is not going according to your plans. The enemy is coming out of the fort to combat against us. Chasquis, tell my generals that we'll go with the young nobles, Miji and Ancascaya, to confront them. Incas, the enemy is coming to attack us in full force. We cannot defend you. We must flee. Northerners, there is Huayna Capac. His inexperienced nobles are running away. Let's go after him. The Inca held to his tumbling litter while his pallbearers made an effort to keep him aloft. In a moment's notice, his experienced generals came and saved the Sapa Inca. Huayna Capac, you are quite disturbed for what happened with the young nobles. Kuntursoul, from now on, I will act as if they don't exist. Inca, you are making a great mistake. How else can I let them know my disgust, except by depriving them of their necessities? Inca, that deliberate disregard of our own has brought us personal and national calamities. We don't seem to forget unwelcome events, and we can't confront them either. We all seem to carry undeclared wars in our hearts. Kuntursoul, I cannot allow this episode to be unpunished, let alone go unnoticed. Somehow, I must let these young nobles know of my displeasure. Warriors of the Chinchay-Suyo, Collasuyo, and Conde-Suyo, I will have a big taki fiesta to celebrate my first encounter. Although unsuccessful, I'm still alive. Inca, you have not invited the aunties or even mentioned the young nobles. They are gathering in the great Muyo Cancha Plaza. I will go to see what is happening. Kuntursoul, we came with the statue of the sun to help the Inca in his battles, and he should realize that we have more privilege than the warriors of the other nations. Miji and Ancas Callas, don't do anything drastic. You know what the price for insurrection is. Man of the future, you who speaks about democracy rarely spends time with the masses. Young nobles, in addition to the past, I am trying to bring to the attention of the Inca lords our problems, hoping that their message will help your descendants. Who knows? Your gathering in this is the first step in your liberation from the all-powerful Inca lord. Sometimes the changes that a nation must make to right its destiny takes place when danger is imminent. In spite of what you are saying, we're taking with us the statue of the Inti to the sacred city. It seems that the farthest we are from Cusco, the farther away we get away from our lineage. Kuntursoul, what did they say? The young nobles have decided to leave. Are they abandoning me in the middle of a war? I have to do something. You, Cañari Guman, as an official mourner, take the idol of Mama Ojo and through her urge them to stay. Behind the dummy statue, the sorcerers came out in a trance that caused consternation in the young nobles. Young nobles, I am the mother of all of you. Return with the golden statue of Inti to the temple, and the Inca will rectify his neglect towards you. Huayna Capac, they are coming back. Kuntursoul, it's all a bluff. They know that I resent them for their actions, and they will feel aggravated for the rest of their lives. Do you realize what is happening? It used to be that the Inca Lord had the last word, and no one dared to contradict him. You are witnessing the rise against an all-powerful potentate. The empire is entering into another era, and it will need a leader who is going to unite the people in earnest. Man of the future, you have been clamoring for anarchy. Now it is happening. Inca changes are always welcome if it fosters union. The empire was a house divided against itself, as is well stated by the American writer Arnold Toynbee. Those are foreign words to us. We couldn't have had a union unless the Inca was in complete control of the empire. Inca, a house divided against itself, was stated by Abraham Lincoln, a great leader in the North in the American continent, when his country was in the throes of division of their union. With those prophetic words, we should understand why we lost to the invaders and why we're losing to ourselves. A house divided against itself, that sounds odd. I will make peace with the young nobles. Miji and Ancascarias. I have been too long away from Cusco, and that is causing some dissension among us. As of right now, all the provisions of the town are for you to have. I urge you to stay. We have to retake the fortress of the Caranquis. The young nobles accepted his conciliatory words. However, this episode left a precedent. The Inca had to account for his actions. The celebration lasted for months. Meanwhile, more troops and mitimas were arriving for the next and third phase of this prolonged war against formidable enemy, intent of fighting to the last man. The Northerners knew they either joined the Incas peacefully or succumbed if they fought them. Aukitopa, the Cayambis and the Caranquis are in the fortress. It behooves us to make an all-out effort to enter their compound and do the fighting inside. If we let them escape, we will have to fight them in distant places. This time, we will be in command. We seem to be losing every time we give the leading responsibilities to other nations. Let our young nobles do the fighting to vindicate themselves as warriors. Sapa Inca, the fortress is an elevated terrain. It is going to be difficult to get to the top, where all their warriors are. The Inca addressed his troops. Warriors of the four cardinal points, fight to either win or lose. However, the latter is not acceptable. Therefore, enter the fortress to die. They began their assault on the mountain hill that had been made into a fortress with 5 levels, each heavily defended and to be taken one at a time. Lances and stones were thrown from the high above, causing a blanket of darkness in the early morning. By noon, the Incas were at the 4th level and out of weapons. Aukitopa, we have no more arms. We won't be able to reach to the 5th level. In the midst of the rain of stones, their general fell mortally wounded. Miji, Aukitopa is dead. You have to lead us. I will. We must keep on fighting. Miji, we have to retreat to rearm. Ancascaya, we're almost at the last level. Miji, the warriors from the other nations are running away. We have to follow them. At least Huayna will know that we were the last to leave. In their hasty retreat, the Cayambis and Caranquis followed the Incas until they reached a river that was their division. Great Huayna Capac, we are some of the few runners who were able to cross the river. We bring you bad news. Your brother died in action. Since we have no more arms and a way of winning, we have to abandon the fortress. We have killed many of them. The citadel is for you to take it. Chasquis, I am not angry at your retreat, but I am for the loss of my brother. I will go to the fortress as soon as my young nobles arrive. Miji and Ancascarias, you did well. We had to return and fight until they surrendered. Unable to defend their stronghold, the northern General Pinto and his captain Canto fled to a lake with 2 islands. Pinto, the Incas are not going to stop until they kill all of us. The few prisoners that they are taking are only to be shown as trophies and then sacrificed. Canto, we might as well die in these marshes than in the wicked city of the sun. Inca have been witnessing these events, and you have killed so many of them that this once crystalline lake is red with the blood of your adversaries. Kuntursoul, if they have surrendered peacefully, Pinto and Canto would be now enjoying our women and chicha. From now on, this bloody lake will be called Yaguarcocha. Sapa Inca, Canto is dead, and Pinto has escaped to the other island. Miji, I want you to go and bring Pinto alive. Someday I will make him my general. I'll be waiting for you, and enter the city of Tumibamba with him as my prisoner. The northern leader was apprehended. Pinto, look at me. I will spare your life. I admire you as a valiant warrior. The empire includes your lands, and with you we will be able to subdue the Chunchos. Pinto covered his face with his poncho so as not to look at Huayna Capac. His visceral hate for him made him refuse food and water. Unable to change his mind, the Inca ordered that he be decapitated. The war against the Caranquis and Cayambis ended in the year 1522, the final great battle of the Incas for supremacy, and the last for the people who fought for their independence. Only a few pockets of free will novels remain scattered on the northern coast. Kuntursoul were now masters of the land with no one to challenge us. Yes, but at what cost? While you were forming lakes of blood, foreign forces are getting ready for their first excursion to your kingdom. Who are these people whom you keep on talking about? You are a shaman who is bringing bad omens. Inca, I'm trying to point out what was happening at the time that you were fighting against your own people, and the end is near for the empire. Kuntursoul, maybe they are the Huayna and not our enemies, as you seem to suggest. It's too late for your conjectures. The damage is done. The soul of the empire is dead. You have created the worst enemies that the Incas will ever have in the north. Man of the future, in your quest to point our wrong deeds, you are eager to recount our demise. Tell me more about that man who's coming to create our misery. Oh yeah, at the late age of 46, Francisco Pizarro had money and prestige, but his illegitimacy was a burden to him. He was not an hidalgo, and he wanted to be the son of somebody. You seem to be putting him down. Why? Inca mentioned his humble origins because the less fortunate are the ones who make a difference in the history of mankind. Thus, after the discovery of the Pacific Ocean, Francisco ventured south in his first trip in one boat and with a few men and some horses. The excursion was a very small one, let alone an expedition to conquer a great empire. Man of the future, we knew the Huayna came and left walking on water. Now you are telling me they are returning in huge embarkations and with rare animals? Huayna Capac, they were no demigods. In time, the Incas will find out that they are mere mortals with some variation in the color of the skin. Very important then, and most desired now. If they were demigods, their skin color had to be different, perhaps golden. Their skin is white, but their beard is golden. For now, listen, as you were having a dream, for that racial difference will haunt us like a nightmare. They were not the Huayna. How did they come here? We will let Francisco relate his adventure, for it's a story to be told, and no one could tell it better than him. I will hear him if he comes, but he's not here. Oh yes, all they were far away without knowing the Europeans spread in advance their most lethal weapon in unseen human arrows embedded with minute germs that are silent as the passing clouds, invisible like the whistling wind, and misses no one with its deadly marksmanship. That a strange malady you will never understand until you, yourself, feel the blow of its violent forces to which you will succumb. That is a very ominous premonition. Since they are coming to claim my empire, I should go to meet those strangers. If they are demigods, I will worship them. If they are mortals, I will spill their blood that is said to be blue and make the oceans bluer with their blood. Inca, unfortunately, our land and the oceans became red with the blood of our ancestors. Nevertheless, you might still be able to encounter them if their ailment does not kill you. For now, they have failed in their first voyage, and they are getting ready for their second excursion. Are you saying that with their arrival, we will no longer go on further conquests? No, because in the distant north, other adventurers have already conquered another empire. The only unconquered nation are south of Panama, including yours. Who were those people who succumbed to them? They were the powerful Aztecs, who were no longer the inheritors of their land. How long ago did that happen? 13 years before they conquered you. Does that mean that descendants of the New World lost this continent that was there for millennia? Yes, they lost to the conquerors from faraway lands who took possession of what it was not theirs and the different pretexts, such as their God, their liberty, and their greed, while making of us their slaves. As a result, the original inhabitants of the New World have been dispossessed of their heritage and foremost of their dignity. It is ironic to hear how the new arrivals to the new continent overcame the destitute life and lack of freedom in the old world, while the Indians of all the Americas lost their liberty on their account. Sapa Inca, the Chihuahuanos from the rainforest of the south are advancing to the imperial city. They think that Cusco has the fountain of youth. Goddamn chunchos, they are savage. These savages are not interested in land or gold, but in the rewards of the moment. I will send my young Captain Yaska to put down the revolt. Inca, shouldn't you go to Cusco to quell this rebellion? No, I was born in the north. My center of government is in Quito. Cusco is too far, and the nobles are virtually autonomous. Sapa Inca, Yaska says that the Chihuahuanos have a white man who is very knowledgeable in the art of war. Kuntursoul, do you hear that? Now the strangers are showing up in the southern jungles. Last I heard, they were coming from the unknown ocean in big floating houses. They in the distance looked like as white as our dead bones. And in the mist, it seems to hover in the air. Inca, those white colors are the sails, and it's not a phantom ship. I see that you are gaining an idea about them. If you believe that they were the true emissaries of Viracocha, you will not be asking these questions. Yasca confirmed that, in fact, the Chihuahuanos had a white man named Alejo Garcia as their warlord, who for some reason had been killed and devoured by them, stating that the taste of their flesh was disappointingly the same as that of others, and his entrails no different than theirs. Without the strange leader, they were defeated by the Incas. Kuntursoul, these lands are far from being pacified. But we go farther north and descend to the coast, where they have seen strangers coming our way. Huayna Capac marched to the forest of Popayan, where he encountered people living in primitive state. The Inca decided not to go any farther. After he placed the stone of demarcation, he navigated down south to the mouth of the Esmeralda River on the Bay of San Mateo, Ecuador. Sapa Inca, the jungles are dangerous, the Andes frigid, but the deserts are unhealthy. Many of us are sick, and we're all going to die. Miji, soon we will find some people who will help us. Oh Inca, look out there. Those are coastal warriors who are not coming to succor us. We have to confront them. The Incas fought with the last of their strength and defeated them. The coastal people prostrated, pleading for their lives. Inca, we still have the belongings of the great Tupac Yupanqui as a testimony that we're once your vassals, and we deserve to be treated as such. We never thought that the Incas would be coming from the north, and that is why we attacked you. People of these hot regions, we are in strange lands. We need to continue south. Great Huayna Capac. In the Bay of San Mateo, they have sighted strangers in floating houses. We don't know who they are. Farther north, they have been in contact with them. They call them the bearded men, or they call them the lords of the seas. The Inca heard more stories about the invaders, but he saw none of them. Huayna Capac marched to Puerto Viejo, where he remembered the stories of how in ancient times the Viracochas, walking on the oceans, departed from this port. He conjectured that perhaps they were the same demigods returning to the very place from where they had left. Probably what they saw was the boat of Bartolome Ruiz when he was scouting in the early months of 1527. Inca, these foreigners who are still a subject of your fancy, soon will be in your empire. I don't know how to tell you of their ordeals, for theirs is the story of great adventure. If we forget the reasons for their coming, however, I could only imagine how different our history would have been had you encountered them when you were in command of a standing army. Man of the future, why make any assumptions? In the end, nothing would have changed. It will only have delayed the miserable outcome of our descendants. From Puerto Viejo, he marched south, where some merchants from the island of Puna requested that the Inca visit them. In their island, he heard more stories about the floating houses that had come and gone. He returned to Terra Firma, where he listened to more disheartening news. Sapa Inca, there is a great pestilence in the empire. We have no way of eradicating this unknown ailment. What to do? Bring me the sorcerers. I want to hear their predictions. A toothless, white-haired old man barely walking with the help of his cane, was brought to him. In a haunting voice, he began to tell him, "Oh, Inca, you are seeing the last of your empire. There are not going to be any more roars after you. The strangers have scepters of thunder that spit fire. You won't be able to do much against them, but only hope for their mercy if they have any. For their forces are invisible and invincible, like the pestilence that's killing your subjects. You must resign to the will of their idol, although too close to sticks. That wooden symbol is more powerful than your golden inti. Worse yet, the strangers do not have to use their powers. We will do our own killing for them. The Incas have created a disunited empire, and it's too late to rectify your mistakes. Remove from my sight this wretched old man, give him the same death that he has so willfully spoken of us. Huayna Capac, he's just a sorcerer. Perhaps he has seen the strangers, whereas you have only heard about them. What is worse, you attribute their arrival to return of the Huiracochas. Inca, it is true, they have been coming and going for some time. You ought to go to Tumbes and find out more about them. Who knows, in the confusion of historical accounts, you might still meet them. No, Kuntursoul, I am not going there to fight ghosts. I need to get back to Quito. Miki, we must return to the high Cordilleras, where the pestilence is not going to affect us. We should have never come to these hot lands. We're highlanders. There are too many strange things happening in this coastal area. I think this place is the abode of the Huiracochas. Perhaps they don't want us here. In Tumibamba, the Inca received a small box, something never seen or made in their lands. Costos keep people. Where did you get this? Sapa Inca, the strangers have many unusual objects. It behooves us you to open it. It contains none of your hair or nail clippings to be the source of any witchcraft against you. Be gone, I will open in the solace of the night when there is no one around me. Go. Sapa Inca, the novels of Tumibamba, the Tumbes, has sent you this box as proof of what you have heard of the strangers is true. We don't know what their purpose are. When their floating houses were leaving, they left behind two of their own people. One, Rodrigo Sánchez the Old Bear, and the other, Juan Martin, apparently to either learn our tongue or to rot. Initially, we took care of them, but when they began to steal and rape our women, they were killed. Kuntursoul, aren't you Sánchez, just like that of the strangers? Why the same name? Huayna Capac, as you have heard. Once these so-called Huiracochas arrived to our shores, they took what was not theirs and raped our women, siring the mestizos. He could be one of my ancestors of the old world. In the darkness of his room, Huayna Capac opened the well-crafted box. To his surprise, he found a dormant butterfly of the night. Once in its natural nocturnal environment, the large insect began to shake its wings, releasing some of the fine powder of treachery that would enter the nostrils of the Inca. The moth flew into the stillness of the night to perch on a wooden beam. Kuntursoul, the presence of this butterfly means that my death is near. Inca is a harmless insect. Although an ugly butterfly, it would be incapable of killing anyone, let alone an Inca lord. Kuntursoul, I know that the insect is not the killer. by the omen that it brings with its appearance. To this day, the presence of this innocent creature is an ominous sign of a possible demise of some member of a family. Miji, let us go to Quito. I need to arrange my affairs of state. Send envoys to Pachacamac to consult with their shamans. I don't trust any of the ones we have here. Huayna Capac to Mibambe in the shadows of death. Kuntursoul, I feel hot, yet I'm shaken if I was in the Cordilleras. What is the man of the future? You are a curandero. You should know. Inca, you have also contracted the same malady as the rest of your people. This pestilence respects no one, not even lords. For now, keep yourself cool, clean, and drink lots of water. There is nothing else that you or I can do, even in our present. All we're able to do is to prevent it. The ways of the plagues are mysterious. We can only wait to see what happens when one is infected. Pray to Inti that soon you will be in Quito to arrange your affairs of succession. Days later, Huayna Capac's condition worsened. He developed horrible pustules that covered the whole of his body. He looked at himself in a golden mirror. He was astonished at the sight of his face, which was also full of the same purulent lesions as in the rest of his putrefying body. Miji, the messengers that you sent to Pachacamac have not returned yet. Their shaman and their healers should know what to do about this malady that is also affecting me. Take me to a dark and cool place. My body is boiling, my eyes can't stand the light. I don't want anyone to see me in this state. Sapa Inca, the shamans and healers from the sanctuary are here. They say that you must expose your body to the sun so that it can dry all the pustules and purify your soul. In the throes of death, the Inca was taken out of the cool enclosure into the bright daylight of a hot midday. In the heat of the sun, he became weaker and he began to dehydrate. As his prospects for life were hopeless, the nobles asked him to name his successor. Chalco Yupanqui, where is Miji? Great one, he's dead. Oh, the end of the empire is near. Offer sacrifice to see if Inti saves our Tawantinsuyo. Son of the sun, tell us who will succeed you. With the trembling voice of a dying man, the Inca could barely say Ninan Kuyochi. Who, Inca, who? Ninan. Only if his oracles are good. What if they are not? If they are not, then let Huayna Capac, our forefather of the times, do not leave us yet. Talk to us with the last of your being. Oh, man of the future, what can I say in my deathbed? The damage is done. Great Huayna Capac, talk to us. It will never be too late to vindicate yourself. I have no strength left in me. Inti, try for the good of our people. We need to hear from you. All my descendants, I have been dead for centuries, not knowing of your fate. Now that I have heard of your predicament, take conscience of what we have contemplated in this encounter. Do not scorn your Inca heritage, as the rest of the world does with the Indians. Respect what you wear and unite for the common good. Do not stain the lakes with the blood of your own, as we did. When that day comes, the dust of our bones will cease being in turmoil, and the soul of the Incas will rise again to be Indians no more. Sapa Inca, Diagorso, Ninan Cuyochi are not good either. Inca, Chalco Yupanqui, Huayna Capac is no longer with us. The fate of the empire is now in the hands of the Huiracochas. Nobles, Ninan Cuyochi is also dead from the same malady. That leaves Huáscar as the inheritor of the throne. He is in Cusco. Perhaps he has been spared from the curse of the Huiracochas. Embalmed the body Huayna Capac. His mummy will be taken to Cusco as he was alive. That was his last wish. The 11th Inca died at the most crucial moment when the adventurers had reached the Tahuantinsuyo. In effect, the empire was left void of a wise warrior, able to counter any foe. Huayna Capac is to be remembered as the last emperor who ruled supreme. Francisco Pizarro will return to Spain with the news that indeed he had found a great civilization worthy of being conquered by the crown.